So, Corey, who are you and where's your business?
So my name's Corey. I'm the founder of RepairLift Marketing. We're originally out of Florida, but we have, offices in a number of different places around the world, and most of our team is remote.
Okay, awesome. How many clients does Repair Roof service?
Yeah, good question. So we have a number of products on our software side. We're up around 500 locations. I can't tell you exactly how many clients that is. And then on the marketing services side, we're right around 100 clients.
Right. Nice. Okay, that's awesome. So, how did you first meet Evan, and what was your first impression?
Yeah, good question. So I met Evan through you actually. And essentially I had gotten to a point in our business where I was restructuring some things and I really needed help. I needed some heavy hitters on my operations team. The way that I look at a business is almost like a sports team, right? Like you have your offense, which is what drives your revenue and what drives dollars in the door. And then you have your defense, which is what allows you to keep your clients and prevent you from losing money. And that's our operations. So I knew that we were strong in the front end, but it seemed like anytime we would get over that 100 client mark, everything would just crash and burn. So yeah, that's why I reached out, and that's how I was introduced to Ed.
Cool. And what stood out at first?
Well, first of all, his dog's name's Nor. So that's one thing that's hilarious. I laugh every time I hear that. But no, what really stood out to me about Evan was his attention to detail. I think that attention to detail is very important. I think he really took the time to get a deep understanding of our problem. Whether you work with agencies or repair shops or whatever, even if you have a general idea of how things work and how things should work, each business is going to have its own unique set of challenges and unique variables that need, to be addressed when building these solutions. So what stuck out to me about Evan was that he took the time to really understand the problem, and he was able to, his attention to detail was just fantastic.
Sweet. And so you talked a little bit about it, but what was your situation like? Could you talk about the general kind of feeling inside the business before working with Evan or using Click?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like it was high stress, before we got this in place. I mean, just there was a lot of factors involved: market conditions, outdated systems, outdated services, not really an efficient team. So when you have all those things going on, it's like you got a fire at home and you're trying to go out and smile and wave out front. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was very stressful. Some nights you don't sleep. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, where it had gotten to. Obviously I try to be an optimist. I knew that there was light at the end of the tunnel as long as we didn't give up and we made the right moves. But yeah, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, fair enough. I've definitely been there.
It's the worst.
I know. Yeah, it's like, especially too, because you're at a place where, even when you're starting out, right, you kind of have that feeling or that lingering uncertainty, but then it doesn't get any easier. Like it just magnifies because now you have a team.
Yeah.
And you have all these other additional, you don't just have your responsibilities. Yeah, you have their responsibilities as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like you can only cut so much infrastructure, right? Before you pretty much have to level down. Like you can't just keep making cuts to, sustain any sort, like I need more profits. Well, I'll cut here, here, here. And then you don't have a team and you can't even fulfill on the services that you're in deals, perform. So yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. It doesn't get any easier until you get to a point like where we are now, where you do have some structure, some stability, what's going on, you know what I mean? And then you can, forecast things quite a bit better, and that reduces a lot of the stress.
Nice. So what were you able to do prior that you really wish you could do before we're pulling those? Like what were some of the things that you feel like now you can do, but before that you wanted to be able to do, but you weren't in a position to?
Yeah. Okay. Where do I start? So a lot of things. All right. So I'd always dreamed of having one system to rule them all. We're not quite there yet. I don't think really anybody in the market is quite there yet. But before, like our data was just scattered in so many different places, and it was really hard to make heads or tails of like what's going on, right? Like you'll see your churn rate stripe, you'll be like, that doesn't make sense. That's not right. And then you realize, well, I got this customer paying under 2 names and 2 cards and, all kinds of stuff like that happens. So getting everything into one system where there's one point of entry, one point of exit, right? And then a bunch of fail safes in between to kind of keep things organized has allowed me to do some pretty impactful things. I'll list them for you. So the first one is create a dashboard that tells me exactly what our MRR is, tell me exactly how many clients we have, what plan they're on, right? Obviously, you can have that without this system, but it's difficult when you're doing anything at scale because a client leaves or a client, signs up and, it doesn't get added to the sheet or the forms, then it's not calculated. You know what I mean? So just getting metrics like that are encompassing and accurate, very important. And I'll just give you one that has saved us a significant amount of both revenue and just resources. So we had gone through this after we'd set up ClickUp and we'd had all the data in there for everything, package, client, who's on what, who's doing what. I was able to identify 20 clients that were in limbo. Okay, so this is somebody who's like technically still on our system, who is assigned an account manager, who may not be paying us, who may be paused, right? Who may be trying to just like, we're running it and the sales team or the account executive just doesn't know, right? So we were able to hit that 20 list and be like, what the hell's going on here? Boom, payment from you, and you, add like $7,000-8,000 in revenue just like that. And then free up all these other resources, right? That were tainting my view of what's going on. Oh shit, I need another client success manager because I have too many clients. Wait a second, no, I don't, because I just cut 12, who weren't paying us, but who were filtering into those bandwidth reports that ClickUp was able to give us swap.
Nice. Yeah. So what were your initial thoughts as you started the process of working?
Well, I got to hand it to you guys. Like you guys, I think one of the things you said was you wanted to deliver lasting impact and more value than cost. And you guys definitely did that. And it started right from the beginning. I've worked with a lot of different businesses. I've worked with a lot of different consultants, and the best type of consultants are the people who come in, they'll meet with you 3 or 4 times to really understand what's going on before trying to pitch you something, right? Because if they do that, and this is exactly what you guys did, we talked about very specific things, even though I'm sure you guys were aware, hey, Corey probably needs something operationally. It's probably going to be around ClickUp, but you don't have all the specifics to be able to create a scope, right? And you don't know my timelines, my, budget, all that kind of stuff. And that was that right from the get-go. And you guys came in, you worked with me to iron out a scope that fit perfectly into what I needed. That's when I knew that, this was going to be a good relationship.
Fuck yeah. Sweet. And what doubts or concerns did you have, like, as you were in the process of deciding whether or not to work with us?
Well, the challenge with hiring anybody, any sort of consultant, or literally, anybody, but specifically at like an executive or some type of strategy level, is if you know how these businesses work, it's very easy to identify the problems and talk about a solution, right? Like if you understand the business well, like you do and I've been doing, I do, like you're like, okay, great, this is what we need. And we were on the same page from the beginning. We need this, this, and this. But the question was, okay, great. How are you going to implement it? Like, how are you going to make this work? Because there's too many times you'll get into a project and it's like a grand idea, right? And it's like kind of makes sense from a high level, sounds perfect. But then once you jump into the details, it's like, this wasn't mapped properly. I just waste all this money and more importantly, time. Now I got to go back and do it again, So I don't remember the question, but
Any fears about like moving ahead or concerns during the decision?
no, that's the way you guys did the disco and the way you guys worked with me to understand the full scope of the problem. Now relieved all of the doubts. That's the
Sweet. Okay. So, and was there any other reservations to working with it or adopting ClickUp?
No, not that I can remember. I mean, I think at first I think I didn't want to change a system. I don't remember actually, honestly, but in general, I just kind of went with the flow. I trusted you guys. You guys, like I said, outlined the scope well, and I kind of just went from there.
Nice. What was the deciding factor? Like, what made you actually decide to say yes and move forward with us?
So I feel like similar to the last couple of questions,
Yeah.
the scope, right? Like you guys took the time to understand my issue. You took the time to understand, the specific challenges that I was having and the priorities in which we needed to solve those challenges. And, you guys didn't charge me to go through that process with me. You guys went through that with me and showed me you guys committed time, to helping me solve my problem. And then from there it was a wrap.
Nice. And can you describe where you're at now, like key milestones? I know we've touched on like the 300% increase in profit.
Yeah.
Like if you could walk me through the before and after any.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we met, we'd been doing 7 figures for years, but it wasn't efficient. It wasn't really that profitable. And towards the beginning of the year, I was actually losing money before I had to restructure. So I think the biggest KPIs that helped us get to, the profitability that we're at now is a reduction in churn rate. So we would always float between 8 to 10% in churn rate, Right now we're down like 2.5 to 5, depending on the month, which is significant.
Huge.
Yeah, it's insane, right? And so obviously, as you're keeping clients, you're continuing to sign clients, the profitability goes up. So, and I directly attribute that to the organization of the business via ClickUp, and even just some of the other processes that you guys work on with me. Like, for example, when you work with my team on the onboarding, listening in on the client call, understanding where there was some things that were causing friction between a client's experience being good from the beginning, right? And yeah, those things combined, I think, have, like I mentioned, dropped our churn rate in half, profitability up at least 300%, what else? I mean, the other metrics I think I already mentioned around, just being able to identify dead weight clients, right? I don't have a specific number for you, but I was able to collect at least $7,000 last week when I did that. And I was able to free up, I was able to cut 13 clients from my book who we're not adding any value. So,
Nice. And so how has Evan interacted with your team? Like, you feel like he was accountable and took ownership for these business outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm going to continue working with Brett and continue working with Evan, is that I feel like I could trust Evan to make good decisions, right? He very much cares about the outcome of what happens with the business. He's also, and this is very important because a lot of consultants aren't like this, he's very receptive to when it comes to a decision point. I'm like, hey, I don't want to do it that way. We got to do it this way because of this, this, and this. He'll give me feedback on why he thinks he should do it this way. I'll give him feedback on why I think I should do it this way. And generally we'll always be able to come to, a solution and we'll both realize why we're doing it.
He's really good at that.
He's really good at
it. And fucking awesome at that. Like, that's it. Is one of his superpowers.
Well, a lot of consultants, what they'll do is they'll be like, yo, this is what you need to do. And you'll be like, no, I know the business very well. Like, I can't do it that way because of this factor or this factor. And they'll be like, yeah, don't worry. Like, this is why you're paying me. Do what I say type of deal. But on Evan's quite flexible. That's a really good word to use forever.
Yeah. So would you say that the value of being able to delegate these technical operational demands have helped you increase the profit? But more importantly, do you feel like you are less involved with the firefighting day to day now?
I definitely am less involved, right? I'm not as less involved as I'd like to be. And I think that's what we're going to work on next. There's still a couple of departments that rely on me, in certain situations. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I have more trust in the client success team. And I frankly, I have more trust just in, it's funny. I can tell you this. I was speaking with Evan the other day, and he's like, when you're the coach, he's like, you call all the plays, but you got the defensive and offensive coordinators. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to be the coach. I'm like, I want to be the GM. You know what I mean? I want you to be the coach of the defense or the coach of the offense. Like, I don't want to be even involved in like making those decisions about how we do this. And Evan has definitely, given me the ability to offload some of that strategic business planning and stuff where there's really not a lot of margin for error, right? You mess that stuff up and you're 3 months, 5, 6 months into a project, it's not going to work. You're going to have to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like he's made a big positive impact on you as well as a team. Like, building on that a little bit more, like, how has this change inside of your business impacted you personally?
That's a good question. So I think for sure, like, I'm just genuinely enjoying my life more, right? Because I'm not, like, sure, I am dialed in most of the week, most of the time, still at nights and stuff like that. But I'm not so much like, shit, if I get a bunch more clients, I'm screwed. I don't feel that way anymore, right? I still understand that, like, there is a training component and I haven't fully removed myself from client success yet, but I do feel a lot more comfortable. I can review our systems. I can see where clients are at. There's points of accountabilities, right? Like, the client success manager finally has a dashboard to manage all of his clients that's live and it's living and breathing based on, what's happening in ClickUp. And obviously that feeds up into my master dashboard. So, like, I'm able to really kind of see problems before they happen now. And that's made a big impact on just kind of I don't know the word to say, but like my peace. I don't know. What's the word?
Yeah, that's actually going to be my next question is like, how has this impacted your overall peace of mind?
Peace of mind. That's the word I was looking for. Peace of mind. Yeah. Just like I said, it's a lot easier to just kind of do everything. I'm not worried that everything's going to crash and burn. I don't feel like there's a house of cards anymore. In fact, I feel like I have a significant advantage over, most agencies, frankly. I feel like I'm a lot more organized, and I know that, something Hormozi said, he's like, when you got to do all this work, he's like, just remember your competitors aren't going to do it. And this is one of those things that, we did and we're still doing. And, I don't feel like there's a house of cards anymore. I don't feel threatened anymore.
Yeah.
right? It's like, you want to come, okay, come try. You know what I mean? Come try. Like, I'm not worried at all. I don't be any of my clients, it's a great feeling to have.
Amen. Sounds like. And then what about your employees? Like, how has this impacted your team?
Well, I think specifically on the operation, I think generally like across the board it's been good. I think my team likes ClickUp. There's more organization. There's team members who have utilized ClickUp in other organizations they've worked at before. So obviously, they're thrilled. I think, didn't you do like a success survey of before and after? Maybe you might be able to answer that question better than me.
I wanted to hear it from you.
Yeah. You haven't shared that with me yet.
Oh no, you should have access to it. They have access to all the data. Yeah.
You probably send it to me. I'm busy. But what is it? And
Now make sure. Well, one thing that I would add is now that we're halfway in through the Q4, we're actually due for another one. So friendly reminder, okay, to send that out or have Lorena send that out to the TIAs. It'll give you we're at like 3/4 in now of work or the impact of the project. So you'll be able to see like very, like literally what are the concerns or how they've changed or how satisfaction has improved or decreased. So definitely, it's actually, tomorrow will be there.
why don't I just do it right now? That's true. No, absolutely. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, what do you have it on you? Like, do you know the number or no?
No, I don't have it off the top of my head, but
But it was high though, right?
yeah, your culture was actually, it's like, you deserve a lot of credit for that because your culture was pretty good even before.
But the culture was, I think there was one or two, like, they're really did, boy, it's Hollywood did one thing, but yeah.
There was one person that was like borderline toxic.
I'll give you that person. Still thinking about that. But on the second round, that wasn't there, right? Or is that person still disgruntled?
I definitely,
I'm pretty sure I fired him. The survey wasn't not chilling.
and so if Evan bet every one of your NFL picks, would he be up or down?
Well, full transparency, I had a rough start to the year. Well, I was just, excited that the season was back, didn't know who was who, and I went down a little bit. But the last 5 weeks, I'm 5 weeks straight profit, 5,000. That's not a consistent thousand. That's maybe $50 one week, 2 G's the next. So yeah, dude, if I was Evan, I would be putting my house on Corey's picks this week.
Fair enough. So a summary, like 5K up on your NFL picks, 300% increase in profit, and then also reducing your churn from roughly about 11% down to like 2 and change.
Yeah, somewhere give or take 1 or 2%, somewhere in there. But yeah, those metrics are accurate.
Okay. What would you tell somebody who's watching this right now and is unsure about taking the next step?
With Brett,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do it. Like, it's very, very difficult. So first of all, you have to understand that you need executives and you need strong, high-level thinkers. You need people who can strategize. You know what I mean? You need people who know what they're doing, right? And there's a lot of those people out there. And Brett certainly is, full of, right? One of the things I like about what you did was brought in people who are excellent in their specific vertical, like Evan in operations, for example. I think the defining factor of what I've enjoyed most about working with Brett and why I'm going to continue working with you guys is because your core value is about providing lasting, impactful value and providing more value than your tape, right? And that's, unfortunately a rarity, in business today. So I would say that if you're on the fence about anything with Brett, I would, based off my experience, I would just go for it because, I think when it comes down to it, you guys are great at figuring out the project from the beginning. So it's not like, it's not just like hey, we don't know what's going on. We're just going to, shotgun approach this and see if it works. Like, you plan it well. And I'm sure you don't take the deals that you don't think are going to, do well, provide value for. And yeah, like when there's problems or there's, if there's problems or discrepancies or anything like that, you guys have, integrity, right? And honesty, right? Like, for example, when we had that billing thing and you went back and you look at I didn't even look at it, right? And you're like, oh yeah, you're right. We did agree on this. Boom. A lot of companies aren't going to do that. So integrity, really, really important. But also problem solving ability. When the going gets tough, dude, you need people who can steer the ship, right? You can't do it all yourself. So I think Brett gives you all of those, in one organization. So just do it. Just do it, baby.